Thanks for the food for thoughts. And right here, ladies and gentlemen, let's kickstart another panel discussion here that we have curated for you. Well, right here in this panel discussion, we will be discussing about balancing profit and purpose, ESG, and green AI strategies. And in this panel discussion, I would like to have our moderator, Ms. Vanessa Gomes, senior writer in The Age Malaysia, to join us on stage. Together with our moderator, we have our panelists, and they are Datuk Technologies Dr. Muhammad Noor Azman Hassan, Deputy Secretary General in Technology Department, MOSTI. Mr. Sreedhar Sivasambu, Head of Digital Platforms in Yinson, GreenTech. So please give them a big round of applause and enjoy this session. Over to you, Vanessa.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our panel session for today. I hope you all had a good lunch. We've got quite an interesting discussion ahead of us today. So today's session, we will be looking at how to balance profit and purpose, ESG and green AI strategies, okay? And so we will be exploring how ESG frameworks and green AI technologies can be effectively harnessed to create a sustainable future. And we have two really good experts here today. Technologists, Datuk Dr. Muhammad Noor Azman Hassan from MOSTI. And we have Mr. Sreedhar Sivasambu from Yinson GreenTech, both of whom will be sharing their insights into the vital role of public and private collaboration to foster a balance between profitability and purpose-driven initiatives. So maybe we can start off with a little bit of introduction from our panelists today. Maybe you can share a little bit about some of the work that you've been doing, and how does your expertise contribute to this area?
Okay. Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you, Vanessa, for the introduction. I mean, a brief introduction. But anyway, I'm currently the Deputy Secretary General of the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation, looking into aspects of developing the nation's strategic technology that the government and the nation should focus into. And the work that MOSTI includes also working with industry players, academia, and as how the minister have mentioned or described here in the morning session, we are given this mandate to develop the future economic, brighter future of Malaysia using science and innovation. So in regards to doing that kind of mandate, we have outlined several roadmaps and policies that will govern and also guide the nation, so that we are able to know where we're heading and how do we get to that point. So in the future, we envision a country of Malaysia as a net zero by as early as 2050, net zero emission of carbons, a country that is sustainable, achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, responsible in terms of its technological advancement and applications, and also a country that is able to own our own technology and not just mere users of technology. And in doing so, we need to develop it from now and do it responsibly as well in relation to environmental and sustainable and governance as well. So that's basically it about what we're doing at the ministry.
Thank you, Datuk. Sreedhar, would you like to share a bit about yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Vanessa. Okay, I'm currently head of digital platforms at Yinson GreenTech. Yinson GreenTech is one of the business divisions within Yinson Holdings Berhad, which is basically an oil and gas company. Now, Yinson GreenTech was established in 2020, and we are really focused on electrification as part of our agenda towards achieving net zero. Now, within Yinson GreenTech today, we are really focused on 4 areas. Now, the first is marine. Today, we are building electric marine vessels. There are 2 types of vessels that we are building. We are building a hydro glider, which is basically for crew transfer. And we are building a hydro mover, which is basically for cargo movement. And all of these vessels are basically to replace the current diesel crafts that operate in ports. The second area that we focus on is mobility. And, we are really focused on leasing of electric mobility solutions to the B2B market. And, this is really the fleet operators, right? At the same time, within mobility, we've recently also introduced our micro-mobility product, which is basically the electric 2-wheelers. And, again, this is focused on the B2B market initially, but, we will be moving into the B2C market. Now, the third segment that we are focused on is electric infrastructure. This is where, we play a role as deploying EV charging stations throughout the country. Today, we operate the largest charging network in Malaysia under the brand name of Charge EV. At the moment, we have close to about 350 charging stations nationwide. And, we hope to have about 1,000 charging stations by 2025. We've also expanded our network into Singapore. And, we are looking at extending that network into other strategic markets within Southeast Asia. Within the energy, the electric infrastructure, we also focused on batteries. So our electric marine vessels as well as our electric 2-wheelers use swappable battery technology. And, the batteries that we are developing are basically platform agnostic that, can be used for any industry. Now, underpinning all of this is our digital platforms, right? And our digital platforms today are one of the main channels for us to reach out to our end users or our consumers. And we are continuously enhancing our digital platforms, our digital channels, so that we introduce new features as well as new service offerings to the market. We are also licensing some of these digital platforms and services to other service providers so that it can be integrated into their service offering, as well as increasing the value proposition to the market such that the adoption of green technologies is accelerated.
Looks like we have quite a wide range of expertise on stage here today. So maybe let's take things from a macro perspective a little bit, looking at the country's sustainability journey. So how would each of you summarize and define our journey, especially when we're looking at the public and private perspective? And where do we stand? Do we have like a promising future ahead?
So there is indeed a positive future outlook for us to look forward to. When you talk about the way that we're heading in terms of sustainability, and the journey has not when it was started. I mean, as a country, the word Sustainable Development Goals, for example, I think was introduced in the Rio Declaration sometime maybe more than 20 years ago. maybe more, maybe it's very long. Well, it was a long time ago when it was first, what do you call that, introduced. And all countries around the world are actually working together. And some are doing a lot more better in terms of laying down the infrastructure, the policies, the funding, and also on the part of the government, providing incentives and so on and so forth. So in doing so, what in terms of public government's, so to speak, governance point of view, as a nation, we should be always looking for opportunities that can always bring businesses to prosper in a more, so to speak, challenging environment. Challenging in the manner that when there are new rules, for example, stringent emissions control, for example, that is to protect and to provide better living environment to the population. As a government, we need to actually provide the opportunity through fiscal and monetary instruments to allow for the businesses within the nation to prosper. And in regards to how far have we gone through this journey, for example, there is this Sustainable Development Report that ranks, so to speak, countries in how a country has developed, has progressed so far. In 2021, I think that's the 2021 latest report. Maybe there's a later one. But Malaysia is doing quite okay. Out of close to 130 countries, we rank at 65, with a score of around 70 plus index score. So, I mean, looking at that, we're better than average, so to speak, in terms of ranks. But we're looking further into how, as a country, cities and whatnot, that's also a good sign because we're moving towards a good direction. The government has introduced the net zero target and so on and so forth, the EV charging stations, 10,000 by 2025, a number of EV cars to reach 25% by a certain year, by 2030, for example. So these are So what we found, there was also another survey that shows that cities in Malaysia, 2/3 of the cities in Malaysia are considered sustainable based on criteria within that report or the study, and which means, and the rest, about 1/3, are moderately sustainable. None of the cities in Malaysia are considered very bad in this sustainable, so to speak, situation. And when we see of this kind of journey that we've gone through so far, I think what we have seen is a good collaboration, partnerships between the government, industry players, society at large, and also academy, whoever that's playing their part in moving and pushing towards sustainabilities and sustainable, what do you call that, living and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I tend to concur very much with what Dato said. So maybe let me answer this from a private sector perspective. I think the ESG space is currently a very exciting space. In fact, most organizations today, have got an ESG agenda. For us, what's really beneficial is the partnership between the private as well as the government sector. Again, with, what many of us are doing towards achieving net zero, this is today uncharted territories, right? So if, for example, if you look at EVs, right? EVs are new to the market, there's a lot of apprehension. It's basically transforming, the entire transportation landscape. So regulation is, at the moment quite gray. And, that's where the private sector government collaboration is really important because it helps us shape that area. And at the same time, it helps us, share our learnings, collaborate in certain areas where we need more support. And more importantly, it's about creating that awareness.
Yeah? Sreedhar, so, coming from digital and green tech side of things, right? based on your experience, what are some of the green AI technologies and strategies that companies can, easily employ to, stick to their ESG targets and agenda, whether it's a bigger company or a MSME?
Okay. Okay, so, as I mentioned earlier on at, YGT, we are really focused on electrification. We are deploying charging stations across the country. We have our leasing solutions. We are building marine vessels and so on. Now, all of this is really focused on transforming the transportation as well as the logistics segments from combustion into EVs, right? So, from a business perspective, we really need to look at the total cost of ownership to a fleet operator. And from a total cost of ownership perspective, today EVs cost the same as a combustion vehicle, or in fact more, right? So what's more important then is to increase the value proposition such that it becomes attractive to the end consumer. And that's where we bring in our digital capabilities, our AI capabilities, such that, we can go to market and increase the value proposition. So as an example, if I take the EV charging stations that we've deployed across the country. Now today, one of the biggest challenges worldwide, right, not only in Malaysia, you go anywhere in the world, you hear this, there are not enough charging stations, right? And for us, as a charge point operator, there's a lot of data flowing through our platforms, right? We know what the charging transaction volume is. We know how much of energy is consumed. We know what the average energy per charging session is consumed. We know what the charging patterns are. We know what the charger utilization rates are. We know what the user behaviors are. Now, all of this data is key. All of this data is valuable. Using data analytics, using AI models, we are able to then determine where to strategically place these chargers. What type of configuration should these chargers be? How many chargers should we deploy at this location? Do we deploy AC chargers? Do we deploy DC chargers, right? So again, the AI capabilities, the data analytics capabilities is very, very important for us to be able to accelerate the adoption of EVs. Now, if I take the EV leasing business, for example, with EV leasing, the total cost of ownership is important, right? And, leasing a car is no big deal. Anyone can lease a car. But we need to increase the value proposition such that the market becomes excited. And that's where, again, we integrate our digital capabilities. With all of the EVs that we lease today, we install IoT devices on it. We collect data such as driving patterns, driving behavior. We get the state of health of the battery, the temperature of the battery, discharge and charging rates of the battery, vehicle performance under different operating conditions, and other key matrices from the vehicle. And using our digital capabilities, using the AI models that we've developed, we're able to go to a fleet operator and give the fleet operator insights about the utilization of their fleet. We're able to look at the data and determine when we need to do predictive maintenance of these vehicles so that the uptime of these fleets are maintained, right? So these are some of the things that AI technologies, digital capabilities will help us increase the adoption towards green technologies.
That's a lot to take in, and very interesting perspective there. Datuk Azman, earlier you mentioned that the ministry looks at roadmaps and policies and also the global landscape to see how we can nurture the ecosystem here. So I just wanted to pick your brain a little bit and to find out what are some of the government's ESG frameworks that you think that have played a really good catalyst to companies that are going on their sustainability journey right now.
So essentially, I mean, ESG on its own is about ensuring that we protect or conserve the environment. We're talking about good corporate governance, and when you talk about these two items, and the government, what we have been seen so far, what we are seeing so far is that we are looking at some of the segments of the industries are still struggling and we're working with the associations like SME Association, FMMs and whatnot through the highest policy decision making. At MOSTI, we are the Secretary of the National Science Council, chaired by the Prime Minister, and members of which are also consisting of industry players, association members. And we always try to get more inputs. And when talk about ESGs, some of the complexities of implementing ESGs are well understood because different businesses are facing different and sort of challenges. And looking at, for example, if you are a business that are already, so to speak, involved in quote-unquote dirty industry, then implementing ESG is harder compared to maybe perhaps providing services. Just look at, cloud computing. You're talking about an industry that Malaysia is regarded as a good location to house cloud computing facilities. The likes of Amazon and others have voiced their, so to speak, announcing looking into Malaysia. And in looking at cloud computing, for example, that where AI can do a lot of wonders in that sphere. When I talk about, I was in Canberra in May, and in Canberra, the National Computing Institute housed one of the largest HPC and AI, so to speak, facilities. And there in Canberra, as ACT is so to speak state level, kind of federal, 100% of the energy source is renewable. So in regards to ESG, they are already at that level, and cloud servers and whatnot are known to be crazy power consumer. And here in Malaysia, how do we move forward and meet that kind of environmental, social, and corporate governance moving? So different businesses, we are acknowledged, would have, in such a way, that hence we're introducing the NETR, the National Energy Transition Roadmap, that will bring us transitioning and helping the businesses to meet also the ESG within the different kind of segments of businesses, different challenges. So NETR will enable that to be transformed, transition faster.
Yeah. The National Energy Transition Roadmap is definitely a big thing that a lot of us are watching out for now. So just to kind of wrap this up a little bit, because I feel like the conversation about sustainability and ESG is, usually confined to mostly bigger companies. MSMEs, micro, small, and medium enterprises sometimes find it a little bit more difficult to get on this journey sometimes. So maybe, from your, respective perspectives, you can share a little bit about how MSMEs can get on this journey and at the same time make sure that they remain profitable, and they stay on track with their sustainability targets and, create a better future for the landscape.
Okay, so, I think partnerships are important. Now, today, if you look at MNCs, MNCs have the capabilities, they have the experience, they have the exposure, they have the technology know-how, and they perhaps also have better funding models, right? And, these are areas where MSMEs typically struggle with. Now, in YGT, we've basically taken a different approach. Now, we have invested in a couple of startup companies that are developing these technologies, right? Be it AI or any other technologies in the green technology space. And what we are doing with these companies is that we are integrating their products into the products and services that we take to market. So in other words, we are helping these companies commercialize their products. Now today we've invested in a couple of companies around the world. We've invested in companies in Malaysia, Singapore, in Europe, in the Americas. And some of these companies are really focused on autonomous technologies for land and sea, battery technologies for land and sea. And these are really areas that are complementary to our products and services. And we continue to scout the market for such MSME organizations that are investing and developing such technologies, because we don't believe in building everything organically. I think we need to go to market fast, and there are a lot of MSMEs doing really good work, right? So why not partner with them and go to market as quickly as possible?
Just if I may add a bit, maybe from the public service point of view, the kind of, we understand that as a nation, we need to, there's a purpose. Of course, when we talk about sustainability, the profitability, the 3 Ps, the profit, planet, and people, the 3 elements that contributes to sustainability. And then as MSMEs, I mean, they depending on how they started the businesses, family businesses and whatnot and so forth, friends coming together and so on and so forth, the way that it has to, I mean, over years, still operating, still in business. So we understand how that partnerships are different in compared to how MNCs are working, because they can go everywhere, all over the world. But in essence, what we're looking at is ensuring and urging MSMEs to understand that the world is moving towards this ESG, the Sustainable Developmental, so to speak, aspirations. And if you're not ready and not prepared, and you're not prepared to actually partner or collaborate and find new ways to change how you work, this is where the government is coming in and providing the facilitation, incentivization, and so on and so forth, to try to bring all the MSMEs in the country, because they contribute close to 40% of our GDP, and they are 90% of the establishments that, so to speak, in balance of that can be actually made better if you work closely and understand the whole of government and nation's approach and how we should be doing that. So it's still a bright future for MSMEs and economies as a whole in Malaysia.
So all the MSMEs here have a lot to look forward to when it comes to the public-private partnership. And yeah, thank you very much for your time. I think it was quite an insightful session. And over to our MC. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause to Vanessa, Sreedhar, and Dr. Muhammad Azman Hassan. Thank you very much for joining us here. Thank you. Thank you. A very interesting sessions we have here. Continue to enjoy the rest of the afternoon with us. Lovely.